Would you like to learn how to make this delicious pineapple ginger chicken nuggets? Stay tuned to Hilltop Stovetop for the next episode where we're going to show you how. Hello and welcome back to Hilltop Stovetop, the show where we're teaching you how to make great meals in an ordinary kitchen. Today we're making one of my personal favorites, and that is pineapple ginger chicken. This is one that I've been making for years and years. It's nice and quick and easy and tastes delicious. And it's also a favorite of my friend Aya's. Aya was an exchange student that stayed with me from Japan. And it turns out that this chicken, the way you cook it, is a delicacy in Japan. It's called kaliagi, and Aya is probably laughing at me right now because I always did have trouble pronouncing it. But regardless, the chicken itself is something that she just loved. The pineapple sauce that I put on it is sort of one of those add-on kind of things. So what we're going to start off with, I've got the rice simmering away here, and I've got a wok, and I've got chicken that I've cut into bite-sized pieces, and I have been marinating in I have been marinating this in soy sauce with garlic and ginger and just a little bit of sesame oil. Now in this recipe we are using sesame oil, but only as a flavoring. Sesame oil, you'll look at it and say it's kind of expensive. It's not great for cooking in because it does have a low burn temperature, but it adds a lot to the flavor in this. So we've got that, and that's been marinating. It's probably been marinating for about an hour or so. Half an hour is enough to get the flavors into that chicken. So now we're going to turn on our wok and make it kind of a medium-high heat. We want it not so hot that things are burning, but fairly hot. And I am going to use, for the main part here, I'm going to use avocado oil. This has a higher temperature before it's a smoke point, I think they call it. And we'll start off with a good bit of that, almost as if we're going to be deep frying it. Not quite, but we can add more oil to this as it dries up and gets absorbed by the chicken. And then I am going to take some sesame oil and just put in about a tablespoon, again, just for the flavor on that. And then I have here a little bit of cassava flour. Now, normally for this recipe, I would use cornstarch. But there's some people in this house that have a problem with corn, so we're doing substitutions again. This is cassava flour. It's made from the yucca plant. It's the same thing that they make tapioca from, except this is the whole root, and so it's got a higher fiber content. It acts very much like wheat flour does. The one thing with it, it's gluten-free, grain-free, nut-free, but you do have to be careful because it's not a low carbohydrate, so it will affect your blood sugar levels if you have problems with that. So do be cautious with that. But like I say, under normal circumstances, I would use cornstarch for this part. So well, now that oil is heating up nicely, and I just take each piece of chicken and drop it in the flour. So we've got the moisture from the marinade. Makes it easy for the flour or your cornstarch to stick to it. And then we just pop that in. And we're not going to, we'll do a few pieces at a time so it doesn't cool the oil down too much. And your fingers do get kind of gummy in this process, so I could maybe put another couple in there, but I don't want to overcrowd the pan. And you want to allow 3 or 4 minutes per side. So we'll kind of fast forward through this. You'll see me flip it over, and when they're both golden brown, then we're going to take it out, and I'm just going to set it on a little bit of paper towel just to stop up any excess oil on that. Okay, so we're back. We've got pretty much all of them done up. Depending on how many people you're having for dinner, that's going to determine how many of these you want to have. And just as they are, they're almost like a, I'm going to call them a chicken nugget sort of a thing, except you know that it's real chicken in here. So we're going to finish up with this last little bit here, making sure they're nicely browned. And if they're well browned and you haven't been cooking them at too high a heat, I mean, you have to have them high enough that they don't get soggy, but not so high that they're going to burn quickly. And you can tell by just giving them a little bit of a squeeze that they are cooked in the middle. We talked about this in my video on making bacon wrapped chicken, how the texture of the chicken changes as they're cooked and they firm up. Like this one is still a little squishy, so I'm going to let that one cook a little bit more. But that's an easy way to tell when things are getting ready, is just how squishy they are. And as soon as these are done, then we're going to start working on our sauce. Now for the marinade for this chicken, I had garlic, I used minced ginger, you could use fresh ginger or powdered ginger, doesn't matter, and soy sauce. And then I'm going to use the ginger, pineapple, and brown sugar for the sauce. So I think we're done there. So we'll just move this out of the way and bring on the small saucepan. And so what we're going to start with is the brown sugar and a bit of this cassava flour, because we want something to thicken it. And under normal circumstances, I would use tapioca or cornstarch for this. But because we're not using the cornstarch today, we're going to mix that. By mixing the starch in with the sugar, that's going to keep it from getting lumpy. And then we open up our can of pineapple, and I just opened it just a crack so that I obviously need a little bit more than that, because all we want at this point is just the juice, not the pineapple. Juice. Now the pineapple that I've chosen to use today is crushed pineapple. If you can get the pineapple tidbits, that's good, but I wouldn't make it anything bigger than that. The smaller the pineapple is, the better in this circumstance. And then the last thing we're going to add in here, because this is ginger pineapple chicken, of course, is I'm going to add some more of the ginger to this. And funny story about, and I'm going to be quite generous with this. I like the taste of the ginger in that. I remember making this one time when I had a terrible, terrible cold, and I was getting kind of hungry. I'd been homesick for a couple of days, and I thought this will just do the trick. And I made it, and I had powdered ginger at the time, and it just didn't seem right So I added, I kept adding more and adding more till it tasted right. And then a friend came over and she said, boy, that smells really good. So I said, great, sit down and have dinner with me. So she sat down and she couldn't eat it because I'd put so much ginger in it, it was that hot. So while you want it hot, you don't want it super, super hot. And I mean that from the point of view of the spiciness to this. So that's all it is just the thickening agent, sugar, and pineapple, and ginger in this sauce. And we're going to cook it until it thickens up. And to tell you the truth, I'm assuming that this is going to come out as a fairly clear sauce, because if we were making it with tapioca, it would be clear. But we'll find out when it's cooked. So if you want to give us 3 or 4 minutes to get this up to a simmer, and we'll see you when it's done. All right, we're back, and this is thickened up very nicely. I actually added a little bit more water to it. If you were finding that yours was a little thick and you didn't have any extra pineapple juice to add to it, you could have added some extra orange juice or some other kind of fruit juice, but water has done the trick for us. So now what I'm going to do, our rice is also cooked. We can turn off the sauce, and we're just going to serve this up here. The rice is looking pretty good here. The rice that I chose to use is sushi rice, or the sticky rice, that goes along well with this type of meal. And we're just going to put our little chicken nuggets on it. If you wanted to add a little bit of vegetables, some broccoli or something nice and green would go well with this. And I did have a spoon here somewhere. And you could mix the chicken right in with this, or you can have it on the side. Whatever, as a dipping sauce, whatever works for you. And there we have it, pineapple ginger chicken, or kaliagi as I would call it. So thank you for joining us here today at Hilltop Stovetop. We hope that you enjoyed making our chicken dish. And don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss any future episodes. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye now.